for pushing forward on this.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. One of the most barbaric features of a society is the genital mutilation of its children. It's based on a medical dogma, sadly, that the normal, sometimes stressful experiences of boys and girls growing up is a pathology that requires medical intervention. Parents are told if they don't agree to these disfiguring and permanently sterilizing procedures, they're putting their child at increased risk of suicide, a baseless claim that has never been supported with good data. Let's be honest, and I'm going to say what you're not supposed to say. Pushing transgender ideology in children is predatory, it's wrong, and it needs to stop. This ideology is a belief system that some teachers, some pediatricians, and others are selling to children without their parents knowing sometimes, or with a deliberate attempt to remove parents from the decision-making. Puberty can be stressful, and for all of history, being a kid and interacting with kids from the opposite gender can be awkward, even confusing at times. But to see now a society putting kids on a path of chest binders, drugs, castration, mastectomies, and other procedures is a path that now many kids regret. And Khloe, I've got to say, your testimony in front of the Hill was one of the best descriptions I've heard on this issue ever. Maybe one of the best descriptions I've heard of any topic ever presented in front of Congress, and it's an honor to be here with you. Let me be clear about something, and this is an important distinction. Sometimes it doesn't get mentioned. We're not talking about medically treating kids with a biological basis for differences in sexual development, what used to be called intersex. We're not talking about children with 5-alpha reductase deficiency, Klinefelter syndrome, Turner syndrome, or other sex chromosome abnormalities. We're talking about an ideology that is supported by flawed science that every child as young as 4 years of age should pick from an array of genders. We've got high schools now where half the kids don't identify as a boy or girl. What's going on? To American hospitals and clinics, do not ask parents to leave the room in order to sell your transgender ideology to America's children. How is it that a child can cannot get an ibuprofen without their parents' consent at school? Yet states like California are arguing that children should be able to make irreversible choices without their parents' knowledge. The UK actually did a comprehensive review in the Cass Commission of the medical literature and found there's no role for puberty blockers in many of these interventions. We as doctors have a duty to speak up, and that's why we're here, against this cruel practice. It's been hard to speak honestly on this topic. Many in academia who have challenged the dogma have been railroaded, dismissed, fired, or labeled in a form of modern-day McCarthyism. Just ask the former Brown University professor Lisa Lippman, whose research suggested that transgenderism was a socially contagious condition. Brown University persecuted her and did not renew her contract. And this is the story of many academics that are trying to speak common sense to this insanity. Let's stop with the labeling and let's have an honest conversation about what's best for America's children. Today, the FDA is taking action. We are sending warning letters to 12 manufacturers and retailers for illegal marketing of breast binders for children for the purposes of treating gender dysphoria. Breast binders are a Class 1 medical device with legitimate medical users, such as being used by women after breast cancer surgery. And these binders are not benign. Long-term usage has been associated with pain, compromised lung function from atelectasis collapse, and even difficulty breastfeeding later in life. The warning letters will formally notify the companies of their significant regulatory violations and require prompt corrective action. And I want to say thank you, President Trump, for signing the executive order to have us look into this. Thank you to Secretary Kennedy for speaking directly to this issue, to Mehmet Oz for finally ending government-funded sex transition procedures in the United States, to Jim O'Neill for his leadership, Brian Christine, Jay Bhattacharya, to Khloe for sharing her personal experience, to the entire team, to the many members here, Senators Marshall, Cassidy, Langford, Blackburn. You've taken risk and stood up on this topic and stood for what's right. Congressman Wahlberg, Anders, Adderholt, Harshberger, Crenshaw, AG Paxton. It's not easy to speak up on these issues, and you've done it at personal career risk. Thank you for speaking up for American children. It's time I can't tell you the number of people that said, don't talk about this issue publicly. You can talk about everything else in medicine, but do not ever talk about this on TV or in any public forum. You've probably gotten the same advice. But we're going to keep fighting for American children.
Good morning. I'm Admiral Brian Christine, the Assistant Secretary for Health at the Department of Health and Human Services, and I have the privilege of being the Senior Flag Officer in the Commission Corps of the United States Public Health Service. Welcome to you all, but especially welcome to you, Khloe. Today, we are taking decisive action to protect America's children from chemical and surgical mutilation and to restore evidence-based medicine and gold standard science to the forefront of federal health policy. What we found in our gender dysphoria review was truly alarming. From 2016 to 2019, the number of sex-rejecting procedures performed on children tripled. And despite the mounting evidence of harm and the reversals by European countries, the previous administration and my predecessor were driven by a warped ideology and a radical political agenda. And that is why I am signing this public health message today, to ensure that healthcare providers understand their responsibility to put children's health and safety first. As medical professionals, we have an ethical obligation to provide excellent care to our patients informed by the best evidence we have. And as such, we should refuse interventions that pose risks of unnecessary harm because our first mission is to do no harm. For the safety of our children, medical professionals should refuse to provide puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgical interventions. Instead, we must prioritize comprehensive psychosocial assessment and support. We must address co-occurring mental health conditions, and we must provide compassionate, developmentally appropriate counseling. And finally, we must educate young families about the incredibly weak evidence for these medical interventions. And let me be clear about this. This is not about politics. It is about science. It is about safety. It is about radical transparency. It is about trust. Our mission is to ensure that every American child receives medical care that is evidence-based, that is ethical, and worthy of the public's confidence. For America to be healthy and great again, we need strong, healthy boys and girls who will have the chance to know the joy of coming together as one and starting their own family one day. And if they are subjected to these vile, sex-rejecting procedures, that cannot happen. Protecting our children's health and their future is good medicine. Protecting our children's health and their future is our moral obligation. Today, I am offering the opportunity for every medical professional to absolutely reject harmful, irreversible procedures on minors and instead to prioritize medicine that puts the health of America's children first. All of us on this stage will continue to be guided by gold standard science, a dedication to radical transparency, and a commitment to truth. President Trump and Secretary Kennedy will stand for no less. Thank you all for being with us today. God bless President Donald Trump. God bless Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. God bless all of our vulnerable children who suffer from gender dysphoria and their families. God bless Khloe Cole, and God bless our republic. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, the Director of the National Institute of Health. I was thinking about how we got to this moment today, and I was thinking about the power of science. And normally, we at the NIH, and I should say as in my